It's green for go. They're racing. He says go. He says ta-da. And Tiger Tara rolls away from them on the home turn. Here comes another big boil over. Equine athleticism at its best. The king is in the castle once more. This is in one race. The rest are almost in another postcode. She is a star with a capital S. It's going to be a triple treat. A miracle three-peat. Ladies and gentlemen, you have witnessed history here at Menangle. What about that? It's getting right up on the sprint lane and it's going to bolt in.
Good morning. Welcome to the Sprint Lane. My name's Paul Cochrane. I am joined as always by Jess Watkins, and welcome back Freddie Hastings.
Hey, Paul.
God, we missed Freddie last week, didn't we, Jess?
We definitely did miss Freddie.
You're a good big fella?
I'm good now. I was tuned in. I was watching live on the Facebook stream just to make sure Wano wasn't too good. I was going to get here early and lock the door so he couldn't come in. But, all good. Had the spicy coffers, the young ones tend to call it, for the second time. But I'm all good.
Did you give him a grading, Watto? What'd you think?
Oh, look,
Out of 10.
I had a 10. I think he put up a solid 8.
Solid
I'll tell you why I gave him an 8, because his black booker did win the first race on Saturday in double encounter. But didn't he let everyone know?
He did, didn't he? He was
He
straight on the
definitely
bell,
did.
wasn't he, Jess?
Yeah, he was.
Well, it's good to have a 10 out of 10 back in the house with you, Freddie. Another
bless
10 out of 10 in the house. Cameron Hart, welcome to the show, Cam.
Yeah, no, thanks,
Mate, you get a round of applause before we've even sort of got into why you get a round of applause. Inter Dominion champion. How does that feel, mate?
Yeah, it feels unbelievable, to be honest. I still can't believe it's happened. But, growing up, it's a race that I've always strived to win, and to be able to do it pretty early on in my career, it's unbelievable.
Oh, it was so good. I mean, obviously none of us were at the venue Saturday night. I know my story. I was sitting on the couch and I was giving it some, go Cam, this sort of stuff. It was, it was ridiculous behaviour from me. I don't know what the neighbours thought, but couldn't help but get swept up in the moment.
Yeah, it was very exciting, and I was standing out there in the barn with a lot of the participants, and DJ definitely led the cheer squad out there, and everyone was just so happy for the boys that our local combination here could get the job done.
What was that like? Because I was here the afternoon when Cam almost jagged the New Zealand Cup, and everyone was around the televisions there in the stables where we are here at Menangle. Was it like that, was it?
Yeah, it was very exciting, and then afterwards around the barns, everyone was more than happy to offer their congratulations, which was really special and nice to see.
I love how this industry gets around each other. We mentioned that a few weeks ago on the podcast, how everyone is just so supportive of everyone who's going away and flying the flag elsewhere. But let's get straight to the man himself. Cam, I know that it's been a couple of days now. Has it started to sink in?
Not quite. I still can't believe it, to be honest. But, it's just been a couple of quieter days now, just trying to let it sink in. But, yeah, it's been unbelievable. Like, full credit goes to Jace. He's done an unbelievable job with that horse, and it's not easy to get a horse through a series like that. It's pretty grueling on them, especially with the travel in Victoria. So for him to have him spot on final night, it's a big effort.
He's won 7 races with that horse. He's only had him for 19 races, Paul. He's won 7, including a couple of Group 1s. Cam, I said to you when you came into the studio today that I had him in my head pigeonholed as a bit of a sprint star. He won a Len Smith Mile. He's run 3 sub-150s here. When you go back through his record, he's just as adaptable over a longer trip. How did he feel coming to the turn? He cruised up behind Act Now, and you knew you just needed an ounce of luck once you got the sprint lane. How were you feeling? At what point in that, say, quarter from the 400 to the turn did you think, hang on, I'm a real live hope here?
Yeah, I felt super confident. He was travelling so sweet, and just really happy with the way he relaxed early, because the lead time was pretty pedestrian. So that helped at the start, that it worked out how I wanted to. I didn't have to brush him up too much, so that sort of helped him relax on the helmet. And yeah, at the 400 he was just smoking, and probably once Honolulu Bay tipped from the 1-1 and didn't really make too much of an impression on Act Now. I kind of thought I was pretty well home from there. I just had to hold him back when I went down the sprint lane to make sure I didn't hit a wheel, and I think we were away from there.
Cam, I watched it back and I thought if you watched the race and didn't know much about how it all plays out, which is probably where I sit, having never sat behind a horse before, you passed one horse and you did it right when it mattered, right at the end. Like, it just seemed like the sweetest trip. You got the perfect draw, obviously. You just sat there, you waited, and you just went when you needed to go. Is it as simple as that to sum it up like that?
Yeah, pretty much. I didn't have to do too much. I think most people would have won on him. It's like you said, the draw was a massive factor. as soon as we drew there, I become super confident in our chances. And, a lot of people probably still wrote us off a little bit as he had a bit of an up and down couple of heats. He was good in a couple and a bit disappointing in one. So, but from the draw, especially at Melton, it's such a big advantage to be on the pegs there. So, and they just run the race really to suit us.
In hindsight, that third placing in that last round where you got, I think from memory, up on the inside, I think, that was crucial because that got him into the final, really, because he did have that indifferent run over the shorter trip in the midweek round where he finished down the track. So that getting him there was one thing, but then to draw the one marble was just quite extraordinary. When they went 26-4 and you were holding so tight on the back of Act Now, and as you said, you saw the horse outside wasn't really coming on, that would have given you even greater degree of confidence, I'm sure, because the horse is a fast horse.
Yeah, 100%. He had the perfect trip and, like I said before, the lead time was pretty pedestrian, so it kind of turned into a mile race, and that's right up his alley, and he can roll out these strong sectionals on the bit, as he showed, and I think someone said that about at the 800 or the 1,000, Jace was calling us home, so I'm glad we did. Otherwise, he would have been pretty disappointed.
That's an early crow and an intermediate grand final.
So he was pretty confident, but so was I. He just travelled so sweet.
Just we don't normally see. I mean, you see Grimmer here every Tuesday and Saturday. We don't normally see him animated, but I think the writing was on the wall at the barrier draw.
Yes.
When he goes up and pulls out one, that seemed out of character for Jason Grimson to carry on like he did. I mean, it wasn't too crazy, but for him it was a little bit more animated than we used to see.
Very guarded, isn't he, Jess?
He is. He's very reserved normally, but like you just said there at the barrier draw, as soon as he drew the one marble, he was cheering and pretty excited about that then. So I think that showed his confidence levels, and then no doubt, like you just touched on, Cam, he got pretty excited there at the 900 metres, which would have been quite cool to see.
More important at a track like Melton, Cam, to get that draw like you got?
Yeah, 100%, and probably all series it was a little bit the same at all those tracks. That when you got all the best horses in against each other and they run such quick times, even if a few of them do work out of the gate, they're always good enough to roll good sectionals late. So makes it nearly impossible if you come wide when you got such quality horses on the fence. So yeah, the draw was perfect, and probably that's why Jace was so excited when he did pull that marble, because he probably thought that gives us a big hope of winning the race.
Act Now was the favourite, and that was the horse that you had to go past when it mattered. What were the other horses that you were sort of wary of and keeping an eye out for in the run?
Yeah, obviously Honolulu Bay, he had the perfect draw. He elected to not come out of the gate, and he just sat in a great spot really, and he'd been super through the heats, and I put him as probably the hardest to beat, and Spirit of St. Louis, even though he didn't run, to his best at Geelong, he's still a very dangerous horse off a sit, and he was so close in the run, so he was obviously below his best again, but in the run, I did think he'd be a big shot.
Expensive Ego didn't really find much when it mattered, Fred?
Oh, sat parked, but there was no speed on early. I kind of thought in the run, watching the race upstairs, I had the feeling that Luke was doing Luke things, just controlling as much as Jody was controlling with the lead. Luke was sort of controlling in the death seat. Didn't do a lot of work. He worked a little bit to get around them. Once he got to his spot, he was sort of in a good spot, I thought. And I thought at about the 400, just after they went that 26-4 third split, and he was at him. He seemed to come back a little bit at the leader's wheel, and then by the time they flattened, that's when he started to drop out. When you're death seating, I guess, in a 26-4, and they got home in 27-6, so what's that? That's a 54 half. I suppose it is tough, but in the run, I thought, he's going to be in this still, even though he sat outside them for a bit. The run that I was thrilled to see, my old mate Zeus Bromack, and he's run fifth at 33-1 for Paul Fitzpatrick and Gavin Fitzpatrick. I think he was about 5-6 deep on the turn. He just had to keep coming out and out. He draws a different barrier. He draws not behind Cam. He sits behind Cam and follows Cam through all the way. He runs a hole for sure, I reckon. Yeah. He's a real good horse, Zeus Bromack, and he'll come back here and he'll be freshened up and getting ready for the Carnival of Miracles, and he'll be to the fore once again. Of course, he won the free-for-all here this year on Miracle Mole Night. Who knows, he might be a contender for the Miracle Mole, the big dance, come the first weekend in March.
When Luke's shadow's lurking just outside you, just lingering there, Cam, you know, Luke McCarthy's the big race driver. Did it? Were you wary of what Expensive Ego could present?
Yeah, definitely. He's been a top horse for a long time, and you know, I was probably for his chances. I wasn't really worried about it, but probably Luke was. He had a grueling series. You know, he probably lacks a little bit of gate speed, so he's always having to do the work outside the leader, and he put in some massive runs through the heat, and probably takes his toll.
He needed a barrier 1 or a barrier 2, I think, to be in the mix. Once he drew where he did, he was always going to have to work. Yeah,
big firmer. Right. Expensive Ego was the one they smashed just before the jump. So, it was huge. I spoke to Robbie Morris yesterday. He was wrapped with Pete said so. You know, whether he had his time again, whether he chooses a different run and stays pegs and trails Cam, you know, might have potentially run a hole as well. But Robbie was absolutely wrapped with Pete said so. I think ended up 5th or 6th. Or
6th. They were in 6th.
Yeah.
Zeus Bromack was 5th, yeah.
So Robbie basically said, well, you know, we'll give him a spell now and get him ready for Carnival of Miracles. In Robbie's words, he said, probably the bigger merger through the series. Pete said so. The real story that kind of one that we didn't expect.
He really was the horse that's stepped up and shined. And we heard David Watson last week say there's always a horse that comes out of the Inter-Dominion that just steps up with those tight runs, with the quick backups. And for us here in New South Wales, he definitely was the horse that did that, and looking forward to seeing him here in the Carnival of Miracles.
What about Torrid Saint at 125 to 1? Just followed through where Cam was, and you know, ran second in the Dominion, rank outsider, and for memory, he got a run as an emergency. Yeah. It was the emergency for the series, for the final. So there you go, nice earn for connections.
Decent earn if you manage to find the first 4 as well with the value that Torrid Saint put in it. So yeah, well done, Cam. I think a lot of people probably, you know, would say Cameron Hart. One day he'll win an Inter-Dominion. One day he'll win a Miracle Mile, and it's so much easier said than done, isn't it? I mean, you know, to now have achieved that, just must feel amazing.
Yeah, it definitely does. Like I said before, it's something that I've dreamt of since I was a little kid. So, yeah, there's been a lot of great trainers and drivers that have not been able to win it. Like, look at Emma and Clayton. Like, they're, you know, the pinnacle of trainers here in Australia, and they haven't been able to crack one yet, but I'm sure they will.
And Luke?
Yeah, it's crazy how hard it can be to win, but, yeah, I'm really glad we've got one under the belt pretty early on.
Did you win an Inter-Dominion in the mini trots?
Yeah, I won.
There you
go. I think so.
An Inter-Dominion driver. So do we call that like a dual code?
Yeah.
He's won both.
It's like you know, when they win Junior Wimbledon and then go on and try and do the double. Yeah. No, it's fantastic, mate. We're so wrapped for you. We're so proud of what you've achieved. So proud of all the New South Wales, you know, horses that went through the series and all their trainers, and you know, it's a big effort to go not only, you know, to go through an Inter-Dominion campaign, but have to do it interstate and then go around those, you know, the regional circuit like it's now engineered as, you know. So proud of everyone, and congratulations to everyone who's done well. It can only be one winner, and we're so happy that, you know, the man who was in the seat for the big dance is with us today. What a 12 months for Jason Grimson too, Jess. I mean, you know, we talked about it in the lead up to the race and over the last few weeks, the drama that surrounded 12 months ago, and Grimo having to, well, you know, look, he won it in the steward's room, basically.
He prosecuted well.
Exactly. You know, and now to go out and win it undisputed Saturday night. What a great kind of 12 months, you know, round trip he's been on.
He's had an absolutely amazing 12 months, and it just hasn't been his Inter-Dominion victories. It's been over there in New Zealand, that first campaign back from the slot race and then into the Messenger and then over the New Zealand Cup and throw in the Len Smith Mile. He's one of our top trainers here in Australia, and respectively so. He's had a great season and can't wait to see him progress. He's still so young.
Cam, I've seen it written, you won the race on the horse you didn't want to be on. It doesn't sound like it's all that fair, but you end up on the, you know, I mean, Majestic Cruiser was obviously the first choice. Pretty good consolation they'd end up on I Cast No Shadow, isn't it? Yeah,
100%. And Jace has said all along there's not much between them, but, you know, I've got a special spot for Majestic Cruiser. Obviously, he had the runs on the board, but, yeah, we had a lot of good experiences over in New Zealand. I honestly just love that horse to death. So, yeah, it was a bit unfortunate. You know, he didn't have the best of series. He had a couple of little issues, but he'll be back again for the Sydney Carnival, and he'll be firing, I'm sure. But yeah, it was disappointing for the Glynn family as well. They've been big supporters of Jace and I with that horse. So, but I'm sure there's still big wins in the future for him.
Has there been some reflection on Majestic Cruises' campaign and sort of saying, well, was the trip to New Zealand detrimental to the Inter-Dominion chances? Has there been any kind of debrief that's happened?
I haven't really spoke to Jace too much. Obviously it was a big effort to do what he did in New Zealand, then to come over, and he made that little gallop, which was unlike him in that last heat. But I got held up after that. I went down to the fence and looked for luck after things didn't work out. But he still got up the straight as good as probably anything in the race. And if he draws where Cast No Shadow did on Saturday, he probably wins as well. But we don't have to worry about that anyway.
Did you have to prosecute a case to get the drive on I Cast No Shadow when Majestic Cruiser didn't qualify?
No, I didn't actually. I thought me and Turbo might have had to got in the boxing ring or something, but I think it wouldn't have lasted around. I think I would have been on the deck pretty quick.
So Jack, it was a sort of no contest. Jack was going to come back here, and you were going to take that drive. Is it?
Yeah, well, the plan was for me to qualify both horses, so I stuffed that one up. So Jack had a drive, but yeah, I guess because I drove him through the heats, they left me on. I didn't really have any discussions about it, to be honest. But either way, I would have been happy. Yeah, it didn't worry me too much. But yeah, Jack's a good mate of mine, and I'm sure he's happy for us.
So when I Cast No Shadow won the Len Smith Mile out here just over a month ago on Breeders' Challenge night, Jack straight away was in his post-race interview was talking about a boat party with that the owner Diane Riley was going to put on. Has that turned into a much bigger party now, Cam? If you've got yourself a spot on the boat,
the Voyager of the Seas, I think it's going to be a big need a bigger boat.
We're talking P&O operation now.
We need a bigger boat.
Yeah, Di doesn't mind a party. She's a lot of fun, Di. We've had some good times in Queensland and over in New Zealand. She was there as well, but she's a dead set ripper. But yeah, we've got a few things in the works. So she has a nice place up on the Gold Coast, so we might make a little trip up there. But she was also talking about Hawaii as well. We'll see what happens.
We are talking
Very
about
nice.
P&O cruise operation going on here. What great pictures, Freddie, to see Diane sipping from the Inter-Dominion Cup. I mean, her story has sort of unfolded a bit more for the public over the last few weeks, since obviously, firstly, the Len Smith Mile victory, but now people are hearing more and more about her. But, such a long-time contributor to the sport, and to see her win an Inter-Dominion, fantastic.
It's the stuff dreams are made of. The passion and the pride in the animals that she races, just incredible. Great vision that we saw. And if she needs someone to carry the bags for the trip to Hawaii,
Captain Stooping.
Captain Stupid. And, Captain Stubing, yes, I remember. So you're old enough to remember the Love Boat, Paul. That's scary. These two either side of me, they wouldn't know what we're talking about. They'd be thinking it was some sort of reality TV show.
Love Island.
Yeah, so there you go. But yes, no, it's terrific to see everyone that I know that knows. I don't know Diane, but everyone that I know who does know her, they speak in such glowing terms of her, not just to her capacity to enjoy a party, which is, a nice thing to have to bring to life, to be able to know how to have a good time, but a very good person as well.
Well done to HRV, putting on our colleagues, our peers, whatever we want to call them, our equivalent down south of the border. Well done for putting on a really good Inter-Dominion. Obviously, they didn't have the COVID restrictions that we kind of endured last year, Jess. But well done to HRV. The coverage, they got Glenn Boss involved. You got to stand around and have a chat to Bossy on the coverage straight away. I mean, legend of the equine industry, done everything that we can imagine from a Gallop's perspective. I thought that was really cool that you guys, and rightly so, are now positioned on the same pedestal that they're putting Bossy.
Yeah, no, it was awesome to have him there, and it was just good to see how excited he was for us to have a moment like that. And obviously he's been at the pinnacle of his sport in the thoroughbreds, and I guess he's one man that would have known how I was feeling at the time with a win like that.
Absolutely.
So I was really impressed with just how much he was enjoying being there, and it was great to have him along as well as Bruce as well. He was doing a few interviews as well, so he's a legend. So yeah, it was awesome.
Did you get to meet Bruce?
No, I didn't catch up with him.
We'll have to fix that next year.
Yeah,
he's
I'm sure
probably
we'll-
he's
we'll
probably
future.
lamenting that he didn't get to meet Cameron Hart too.
Probably true.
He will
yes.
be, yeah.
I did notice Grimmo did say to Bossy, if you're that keen, I'm looking for a driver at Cranbourne on Monday. I saw Grimmo driving at Cranbourne yesterday, so obviously that didn't
Bossy's knocked him back.
didn't unfold. So well done, Cam. Hey, the Trotters final. There's a New South Wales connection with the Trotters final. So there's an ownership group based out of Tamworth. There's 5 guys at Tamworth. A guy named Mark Lowe up there. There is he's got a mate at Inverell. There's another mate of theirs at Port Pirie. So 7 of them got into this syndicate. It's called the Iona Trotter Syndicate in Just Believe that won the Trotters final. Well done, Greg Sugars and Jess Tubbs going back to back.
Yeah.
Yep.
What about that?
Back to back in the Trotters final. So well done there. There's Mark sent me the Mark Lowe, Terry Brown, Dave Pike, Bob Peterson, and Judy McDonald and Margot Sweeney's their friend at Inverell. Well done, New South Wales. We'll absorb and extract every little bit of New South Wales detail, won't we, Jess? But well done. We didn't have a New South Wales runner in the Trotters final. Look, and to be fair, we probably didn't expect that we were going to
we
get
only
that
had
deep
2
into the campaign. did we?
down
Only
there,
2 that
one
went,
was
and one was
scratched.
scratched after the first round.
Yeah,
So it was
yeah.
kind of, yeah.
So we're in the owners. But you mentioned, Freddie, before the mini trotters that Cam won.
Yeah.
We won all 3 mini trotter finals there on Melton.
New South Wales.
Yes, so we had.
Good to
So
go.
I'm just going to. I got the name sent through to me. So Reba Brown won the mini division with Just Jack, and the pony with Mr. Fantangle, and then we had Riley Kittle taking the Shetland category with Mr. Rocket Fuel. So there's an omen bet if
That's
you
a good name.
and get on a horse. Mr. Rocket Fuel is probably one that you want to be backing. And that's all in the lead up to the Golden.
So we had an involvement. We won the paces. We had owners in New South Wales win the trotters, and the kids have won all 3 clean. It's a clean sweep.
Yep, absolutely.
That's a clean sweep to New
Clean
South
sweep.
Wales.
Yeah.
New
Yes.
South Wales domination.
Yes.
What does it mean when you're a kid and when you're a young fella and you won the Inter-Dominion? Those kids that won on Saturday, they'd obviously be thinking, and seeing you win the big dance, they'd be thinking that's something they would like to emulate as they get older. You know, they'd be feeling just as excited at their win as you would have with yours.
Yeah, 100%. It was a huge thrill when I was a young fella coming up to Menangle and to be just part of the race meeting and seeing all the older guys go out there in the big dance. And it's definitely, you look after those sort of guys, and it makes you think that could be me one day. And I know I tried to catch up with as many kids as I could down there, and they had a great night. And full credit to all of them, and well done to the winners.
Where did you win it? Where did you win the mini trotters?
Yeah, here at Menangle.
Here at Menangle at headquarters.
I think I called it.
Yeah,
I
you
probably
would've.
called it. Jeez, I was calling him as a kid, and now calling him in Group 1s. I'm feeling
Fantastic.
old.
Fantastic. They're one person's Inter-Dominion is another person's Inter-Dominion, no matter what level you're.
That's it.
Yeah,
It's-
right.
it's
It was-
it.
yeah, fantastic. Well done to everyone. And as we said, just back to back for Greg Sugars and Jess Tubbs. Well done. Just Believes, obviously been a real star on the rise as well. So well done. That was a great race as well, and an excellent drive from Greg Sugars. It must be mentioned. We had some other races going on, Jess. We should probably talk about the week that was here in New South Wales, shouldn't we? So Brad Elder came here to headquarters on Saturday night. He won the Waratah final with Lil Ripper. It's his first Metro win as a trainer, wasn't it?
It was his first Metro win as a trainer, and I think he had 11 training wins prior to that one on Saturday. So it was a special win. I know connections were on course here and very excited, and his dad Darren as well. So it was great to see, and it was a good drive too. There was no run, and that fence, the gap opened up on the fence, and as soon as he took it, the horse absolutely ripped home.
I know his uncle Brian was here, and he was ecstatic. But what about, there were 2 peg-hugging drives on Saturday night. I know we're about to talk about one of them, but Brad's was a pearler, and he got up to win by a slender margin. Well done to him.
He's a real good talent, Brad Elder. Blake Jones and Ellen Bartley were here. We talked about obviously Cam and all his mates were down in Victoria for a couple of weeks, but that created opportunity for a lot of people to be able to come in and have success here at headquarters. So Blake Jones and Ellen Bartley, they won the penultimate at Menangle with Miss Chantilly. James Rattray won the Trotters race. Beat Aldebaran Ravani, who's one we've talked about a little bit on the show, and went round as favourite, but James managed to get that one up. And then he sent around he had Weebeen Boppin, who was tomato sauce odds there in the free-for-all, Group 3 free-for-all, and got rolled. Sean Grayling again, Jess, he's having a great time over the last few weeks.
Yeah, Sean and Paul combined for back-to-back Group 3 victories here on Saturday with JOK, and He's a horse that we wouldn't have been surprised to see him take part in this year's Inter Dominion series, but he was so dominant on Saturday, and the way he won that without cover was very impressive, and I'm sure he's one to keep an eye out for during this Sydney Carnival as well.
Absolutely.
Chris Geary, couple of winners at Penrith on Thursday. Again, another guy who sat here where Cam's sitting now and said, sometimes it's just opportunity, and it's, it could be a suspension or someone unavailable. You get the chance to have some drives. Chris has been in a great streak of form since he sat on the podcast. So there you go, Cam. You might actually have some success.
And Josh was the guest last week, and he had a massive night at Newcastle.
Keep going at it, mate. You might get a winner.
Good luck today.
Jared Carlefelt. Now, I was down at Wagga on Friday. Jared Carlefelt had a couple of winners there. He's a name that we haven't spoken about much on the podcast, but I love being able to bring up new names and people who are having success. Cam, you got your first Group 1 down there at Wagga, didn't you? Riverina Postway?
Yeah, I'm from down that way, so that was a really exciting night. But yeah, the Carterfelt family have been in the business a long time, and I've driven quite a few winners for Paul, his father, and they're great people. So yeah, well done to Jared.
Junie.
Yeah,
Talented
Junie.
family. I remember when I was at Channel 10 at the old Sports Tonight days, did a feature on his brother, on Brad, the amazing triathlete. Yeah, he was representing Australia at the time. Yeah, super talented family.
Is Cam the second biggest talent to come out of Junie behind the mighty Rabs?
What about
Laurie
Daly?
I'm fair
What
way
about
down.
Rabs? Are they going to put a statue? Are they going to put a statue in Junie for Cam?
I'll tell you what, he's become part of a fair argument now. Like, where's an Inter Dominion rack up against being the coach of a losing State of Origin team, Jeff?
Well, I think it rates a lot higher.
Nah, it's awesome. Mark Hewitt drove a double down there at Wagga as well. There was a training double for David Hewitt. But look, it turned into the Steve Turnbull show. One of the reasons I was there, the regional finals were on. And Steve Turnbull, so they were dominated by the Turnbulls. Now, there was a minor amendment to that. Jason Hewitt won the 2-year-old Colts and Geldings final with Chiseled. It was a really good race. Just beat Ty Robson's Have You Checked In heavily back. They absolutely piled into it. Jacko Painting was on that. And one of the best set of colours that I've seen, Have You Checked In has got like a QR code as the design on the colours. Really, really clever and cluey, I thought. But anyway, they piled into it. It just got rolled. Really great performance from Jason Hewitt and Chisel. But then it turned into the Turnbull show. It kicked it off with Olivier and the 2-year-old fillies. When's the last time you reckon you saw a Steve Turnbull, Nathan Turnbull driven horse go around at $101, Jess? But it won.
It won impressively as well.
Too.
It was a very nice winner.
$101. How did they let that go?
I don't know, but well done to them both. But I don't think we'll be finding another one at $101 from Nathan and Steve anytime soon.
So Steve might have shared the training honours, but he did dominated the training honours, but he did share around the driving spoils. So Dave Moran beat Amanda Turnbull. She had All-Stars Frankie in the 3-year-old Colts and Geldings. Dave Moran was on St. Veron, and it won the 3-year-old Colts and Geldings. And then Amanda and Steve combined on Pastor Cheval to win the other feature. So, well done. Just beat Bernie Hewitt on Jungle Baby. Now, Bernie, he's had a pretty good week. We talk about Bernie a lot. He had a driving training treble at Bathurst on Wednesday night. Well done, Bernie. But, of course, Steve Turnbull, he just turns up at Bathurst and wins for fun. Training double on that Bathurst program. He must be one, Cam, that, you've ticked some boxes lately, but when you look at doyons and people that you really respect in the industry, Steve Turnbull must be almost on that top peg.
Yeah, 100%. He's a legend of the game, and he's done so much in this sport. And yeah, to even for all his kids to come through and be as successful as they have been, he's done a great job with them as well. But yeah, he's a legend trainer and just a legend bloke.
Good
really.
bloke, isn't he?
Yeah,
just a real
nicest bloke on the planet. Yeah. We should probably mention Amanda. Like, obviously, she did really well. Like, Bundoran's just been a horse that just continually turns up and is consistent, and you get what you get with Bundoran, and had a really good Inter Dominion campaign for it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was only beaten 4.5 lengths in the final. It ran 8th, 9th, ran 9th. The records will show it ran 9th, but wasn't beaten horrendously far. But look, he's been a real good horse for the stable, and she's done a great job with him. He'll come back, obviously. He'll be looking at races at the carnival here as well, and will compete very, very well.
And horses normally find an extra couple of metres with Amanda in the chair too. Mm-hmm. such a talent. Look, there were heats for the Red Ochre at Dubbo on Friday night. So Steve qualified Smooth Bonbon for the Phillies and Mares Classic. So that Red Ochre finals will be this Friday night at Dubbo. Blake Micallef won the other heat with Yaram and Bella. So there was the Little Red Jug Series too. Isabel Ross and Amanda combined there with Carlo Gambino. And Bernie Hewitt won the other heat with Chap Daddy, driven by Doug. Now, Dougie, he's a great story. He's obviously come through as an ex-rugby league player. He turned his hand to driving, Jess, and he's had some great success. He had a huge night there the other night. So he won the last three, including the Gilgandra Cup with Wiona Survivor. So great talent and doing great things.
Yeah, another participant out there from Bathurst that's had an unreal season. He's had a couple of Group 1 wins along the way too. And like you said, he turned his hand from footy to driving and he hasn't looked back.
Matty Rue, he won 3 of the first 5 at Young on Tuesday night. There's a track you've spent a bit of time on, Cam.
Yeah, I didn't really enjoy myself at Young too much, to be honest. The weather's pretty cold over there in winter, but it's Matty does such a good job, and I've had a good relationship with Matty. He's put me on plenty of nice horses over the last couple of years, but yeah, he's a great bloke, and he's been doing a super job in the training ranks.
Face of the sprint lane too, Matty Rue, wouldn't he? He's the logo, Matty Rue. We mentioned Joshy Gallagher before. He had an absolute fat night there at Newcastle on Friday. He won. So we talked about the Western Region finals that happened at Wagga. Now the Eastern Region finals happened at Newcastle. Josh won 3 of them. So it's not a bad return. 3 of the 4 he wins in. He actually had 4 winners for that program in a couple of seconds. So I know that we're going to talk a little bit about the fantasy game a little bit later, but that's some big points right there, Jess.
Some massive points, and he's definitely a participant that everyone, I think, should be looking for the fantasy game when he covers as many miles as he does and drives in as many races as he does with success.
He's done it a few weeks in a row now where he's had those big nights, Freddie.
Yeah, just one thing on his 4 wins. They were for 4 different trainers, which is, that's pretty handy as well. He won for Alex Olchin. He won one for Kerry Ann. One for Aaron Goadsby and one for Blake Fitzpatrick. So 4 winners on the card for 4 separate drivers. That's a little bit rare. And just on that, just quickly going back to last Saturday at Menangle, 9 races and again 9 individual winners.
Fantastic.
So it's starting to the love is being shared, which is going to make, when we talk about it, fantasy harness racing, that a little bit harder to try and sort out.
Oh, and if you think Josh is just rocking up and driving winners, as I was driving in here to Menangle this morning, there's Josh he'd been out doing track work with one. He's just taking it back to Lucky Lodge and, putting in the hard yards here on a Tuesday morning on a race day too. So, absolutely getting in and getting it done. Hannah Rickson, one of your good mates, Jess, she won the 3-year-old fillies final there at Newcastle with Paint Me a Reason. Went past Will. It was a bit of the sibling battle there.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. They're twins as well, so it would have made it even more special for Han that she beat her brother. But great to see Han get a group win next to her name, and I know she was very excited, and so was Johnny Wheeler and the connections as well.
Will pretty well, Cam. How's he going to cop that? His twin sister going straight past him. He's on $1.50 favourite.
Not very well.
Go Paint Me a Reason. That was a horse
Freddie's
to follow. I've stuck solid. What she's won it so far, she's won at $5. Second and paid $9 a place, and then won at $18.
And that's coming off the back of turning up here 2 Saturdays ago and smoking up the track in the first at Menangle on artillery.
Yeah, and the Cherry Cup at Young the night before as well. So an unreal fortnight for
Hannah. Yeah,
Han.
she's going great. Well done, Hannah. All right, well, we mentioned fantasy harness racing. Launches on Thursday. The excitement is building. I've had plenty of phone calls, people saying, hey, I don't know what this is all about, but people are talking about it and there's intrigue and it's fantastic. We've got the most expensive bloke in the salary cap ranking sitting with us, Cam. You're one of our ambassadors. It's another way of approaching a race card, isn't it? Like looking at it through a points scoring system that people can just get involved in.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to create a lot of interest. Like you said, it already has, and it hasn't even kicked off yet. But it's definitely, something that a lot of people are really into with the different sports and things like that. So I think it's going to be very successful, and can't wait for it to kick off.
You're going to have to cough up about 10% of your salary cap to buy C Hard here, Freddie.
I'm sitting next to a millionaire. Look, here's a confession, and don't judge me. I have never played any fantasy sports. I played fantasies, but that's for another podcast. No, but I've never played any fantasy leagues, NRL, AFL, NFL, whatever. I'm excited by this. I never played them, not because I love my NRL. I'm a passionate Rooster, as is the man next to me. Again, don't judge us. But I've never had the time. I've always considered to do it properly, to do NRL fantasy league, you've got to put a lot of time into it. And I've never had the time. I've thought, no, I can't be bothered. I am so excited for Thursday when we go live with this harness racing fantasy harness racing. I am just champing at the bit. Can't wait for the full release of price lists. I've tried now, folks. I've tried to, be nice to Paul and see if he'll give me an advance list of some kind. He's just sticking solid to the rules.
Yep,
God bless him.
Thursday's the day.
So I've got to wait till Thursday, like the rest of you. But I just can't wait for it. I'm so excited to be playing, and by gee, it'll be it's one of those exercises, Paul. Hours will have to go into it, and I have to commend anyone right now. Please make sure you like our podcast, The Sprint Lane. But if you want to know more about the fantasy harness racing, Paul and a few others are putting out,
Tommy Swiderski
and Tom, putting out a podcast on the fantasy harness racing. I really suggest you have a listen to that they go into chapter and verse on how it works, and there'll be ongoing episodes to keep everyone up to date. So please listen to that, because I learned a lot and I can't wait for the...
Yeah, so what we've tried to do is basically break down how it works. And then what we'll do over the coming episodes is we're going to break down region by region, and we'll say, well, right, this is what you're looking at for the Riverina. This is the pool of drivers, and this is where, what stats tell us, because it's very much stat-based. It's evidence-based how people are being priced up. And as we said, a little bit of, I guess, taking a stab at what trajectory looks like for some drivers. And yes, there's some that people are going to go, oh, they're a bargain, or gee, they're overvalued. Well, okay, but that's the game, and if they are overvalued or underpriced, the results are going to prove that, if that in fact is correct. So we'll go through region by region. We'll have a look at, the premiums is a kind of a term that gets thrown around when you talk fantasy sports. So Cameron, for example, and all these guys that are the high price, we sort of class as premiums. And then we'll have the real bargains, who's lower down in the prices, or who we think they're probably going to outscore their value. That's what a bargain starts to look like. So, yeah, look. And
is this your concept? You've driven this? Well,
yeah,
mate, take a bow, because I tell you, and I mean this, take a bow, because it's got me that excited. I've been around this sport for a long time, and it's going to engage so many young people to be, just whether they're have a casual interest in harness racing. All of a sudden, they're going to have a reason to want to watch Menangle on a Saturday and see how this bloke went next to me, Cameron, or how Jack Callaghan went, or how Hannah went. It's just going to create such interest. So take a bow, because
Thanks,
I think you and the team that have put this together have really engendered some real interest in the sport. And going forward, I can't wait for it.
Look, it was I got COVID back in April, and I was sitting in my bedroom for 2 weeks, and I was doing my AFL fantasy team, and I thought, how can we turn our sport into a product that can work? So a few ideas. I've got to commend the executives, so particularly John Dumacy, but the board of Harness Racing New South Wales, who've really supported me on the idea. You sort of go in with this mythical concept, whatever, and they've supported it, and see that there's a future value in being able to do this from a fan engagement perspective. And I think what price do you put on fan engagement? I don't think you can value it, because it's so important that we continue to have the conversation stimulated of what our sport looks like, and be able to tell the great stories about Cam's result, and have people doing what we all did on Saturday night and jumping out of our lounge chair because they're so happy that one of ours has delivered on the big stage. And I think that's important. So, and the great thing is kids are going to be able to play this. I was, talking to Robbie Morris yesterday, as I said before, and, I said, mate, this is one thing your kids are going to be able to play. They can't go down to their tab and have a bet.
And Archie's got to be damn good at it too, let me tell you. He knows his stuff.
Exactly. So, price-wise, the best way to see the prices, yes, I make no apologies that we are drip feeding some of these prices. The best way to keep across it is to get around the socials. We're pretty active on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and we're sort of drip feeding those out and giving people an idea of what the landscape of pricing looks like. How does it feel to be we have sort of let that cut out of the bag that Cam's the most expensive at 1.34 mil. You think we've got it right, Cam?
I think I'm a bit highly priced, to be honest. You've put the pressure on me, so I'll have to get my ass into gear and we're gonna have get some results on the board.
Gonna have to get you doing some miles out of Bathurst.
And that was priced before Saturday. This has all been just for full disclosure. He's 1.34. Lucky you priced him before the end. He might have been worth 1.5.
Someone actually did comment on our socials that his value just went up, but I can't tell you it has zero impact on that.
The value is the value at the moment.
But Jack Callaghan's price came out this morning, 1.27. I think we've got him at, so he's not far off the mark. And you two have run very parallel kind of results, haven't you? You're both sort of right up there at the top of the premiership leaderboards, and obviously Jack's probably turning up in Newcastle and some of those places a bit more often than you have been. So, maybe we did get it wrong. Maybe Jack should have been the most expensive. I don't know. Like I said, the proof's going to be in the pudding when the results start coming out. But, Jack's a serious talent, isn't he? And he's going to be a great buy for someone.
100%. He doesn't mind doing a little bit of travelling, and he has a lot of success at Newcastle as well. He's dominating here in Sydney. So I definitely think he's a really good buy. That's the sort of interest that it builds, doesn't it?
There'll be a lot of chit chat and a lot of people having banter about. There'll be plenty of banter going on in the barn, no doubt. Once this is released and all the prices, absolutely. But just the ongoing and the fan engagement. And I heard a term in the podcast that I really like, Paul. I think Brett might have used the term the water cooler discussions, where people gather around, either in the tea room or at their work or at the club or the pub or whatever, and having a chat about and a bit of friendly jibing and banter. And that's part of what drives a lot of the fantasy sports from what I can tell. So that'll be interesting as well. But I've got no doubt Cam will no doubt anchor a lot of the people's teams.
What I would encourage people to do is when you get on the platform on Thursday when it launches, or in the days that follow.
We're not sure yet?
I spoke to the developer this morning. Keep it on the socials, but we think it'll be a morning hit, morning launch on Thursday. But the reality, there's going to be some great prizes up for grabs, and we've already said there's a car up for grabs for first prize, for example. But the reality is, thousands and thousands of people are going to play this. So the car is like, the dream, winning the Inter Dominion. But what you can win is the battle between your mates. So get in there. There's a league function. You can go in and you can set up a league, and you can have your head-to-head battles, against each other. You could have your, like Cam could set up a league, for example, and say, right, who's going to take me on? And all the punters out there can just jump in Cam's league and see if they could beat Cam's team, for example. But you could have that league, or it's, say, 12, 16 mates or whatever, head-to-head each week, grand final, end of the year. Fantastic. That's what's really great about fantasy sports and being able to position your team in that way. So can't wait. Keep an eye on the socials, because that's the best way to know when it all drops, and you'll get some more idea of the prices.
So launches Thursday.
Correct.
And commences the 10th of January and runs 25 weeks.
And one thing, Freddie.
Yes.
Now, in the unlikely situation that there is a tiebreaker at the end of the year.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so let's say two people are on the same amount of points, and they've got the same, and the same difference in whatever the tiebreaker needs to look like. The tiebreaker to decide who gets the car, in the unlikely scenario, it will be whoever registered first.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're going to want to get on this Thursday.
Yeah. So get in, register your team, and then you're going to be able to. It'll be unlimited. You can just change your team, and I can tell you from experience across different codes of playing fantasy sports, you never feel like you got it right, and then you just have to hope that your gut instinct's right when that first race goes on Tuesday, the 10th of January. Because you could say, right, I'm going to trade Cam out, save a few bucks, and I'm going to trade Joshy Gallagher in, and that gives me more money to spend somewhere else. And you'll constantly do it, and that's the fun of it. So, I wish everyone luck with that, but please get on. It's just going to be a lot of fun, and that's the idea of it. All right. Well, one of the things that I wanted to touch base on, because this launches at Dubbo on Friday night, and it is a competition that is based around the Eureka. Now, Wayne and Julie Loader, who are based out of that Bathurst region, they've got a slot in the Everest. So what they're going to do is they're actually going to in the Everest. My apologies, that was a really bad Freudian slip. The Eureka, obviously. Now, what they are going to do is put up a 2% stake in the Eureka, and the way to enter this prize is you got to be on track, and you get the entry form in the race books at some of these tracks. So Dubbo this Friday night, and then it goes to Bathurst on the 26th. That's the Boxing Day meeting at Bathurst. New Year's Eve at Parks. Back at Bathurst on the 20th of January, the 12th of February at Blaney. There's a couple more at Bathurst on the 22nd and the 25th of March, and then the 25th of April at Forbes. So they're the opportunities to be able to enter this and be able to pick up 2% of the ownership of this slot in the Eureka. So well done to Wayne and Julie Loader. They've put this prize up. I think it's fantastic. It's going to create a lot more interest around that particular horse. What they haven't decided which horse, obviously, is going to earn that, take that spot for them, but that's what's on offer. So race books, it launches at Dubbo this Friday night at the Red Ochre Classic Night, so it should be fantastic. So keep an eye out for that.
A good innovation to get people. Yep. I mean, we know at the Carnival of Cups they're very well patronised, but to get even more people through the gates, create that interest, that's pretty exciting. So well done to both Wayne and Julie.
It's the Western Jewel Tab Eureka Racebook Competition. So keep an eye out for it. Well done to Wayne and Julie. It's fantastic that they're being so giving and so generous in what they're doing there. All right, best thing you saw this week, Freddie. I think we just kind of talked a little bit about where you're heading, aren't you?
Yeah. Look. All along it was the performances of the New South Wales horses through the entire ID Carnival, and the fact that Cam and Jason won it. But I'm just so enamoured right now with this, harness fantasy. Fantasy harness racing. I just cannot wait for it. I really can't. And as I said, as someone who's never played before, Paul, any kind of those fantasy games, I'm just so looking forward. And I can see myself, because I'm taking some leave just after Christmas or leading into Christmas, I can see myself for hours in the middle of packing house and doing other things that I should be doing, because I'll be moving in the new year. But I can see myself spending hours just playing fantasy harness racing and trying to get my team built around Cameron.
Cam, I reckon the best thing you saw would have been the winning post at about 20 past 9 at Melton on Saturday night.
100%, definitely.
Anything else, mate, or is everything a little bit more of a blur since then?
Yeah, big blur, but I want to give a quick little shout out to Tay French. She won the Young Drivers Series that I was part of down in Victoria, so we had a great week down there as well, so she did really well throughout the week and got the result.
We glossed over that, didn't we? What happened there, big fella?
That was just a great week. Not on the track, but off the track we had a good time.
We picked it up, didn't we?
Can't
We said,
win
we've got the best driver. There's no way anyone else is going to win this through the podcast. But I guess we kind of forgot about that a bit with the Inter-Dominion Championship going his way. So what about you, Jess?
It was the win of Universal Pegasus at Penrith on Thursday night in the Don Clough Memorial. It was trainer Carolyn Vernon's first training win. It hurt start 70 for her, and Universal Pegasus broke through for its maiden at 60 starts.
Is that the only horse she's got, Jess?
I think so at the moment. So her and her partner Alan were very excited, and there were plenty of cuddles all around at the hill on Thursday night. So that was great scenes there.
Fantastic. All right. Been a big week, hasn't it? It's there's plenty to be happy about in the direction that our sport's taken. It's great that we can all throw around these best things that we saw, and we could pick from several. So I'm seeing David Watson turn up, walking around behind us. Maybe the best thing I saw was how excited he was about his black booker landing. We might get into that bit, eh? So he was so happy, wasn't he? He was straight on the phone. It was like you when you win. You're straight on the phone telling everyone about it. But I think Wano took it to the next level.
Freddie said he did a victory lap around the Penrith callers box when Paint Me a Reason got up.
It's a very small box.
Wano did the straight. He was up like Josh Gallagher, hand in the air. Yeah. That's my black booker.
Yeah. So So that was double encounter,
Double
wasn't it?
encounter,
So
yeah.
for Steph Morris and Harry Martin.
And broke 150 as well, too.
First.
So
Yeah.
I think that's the second week in a row, second or third week in a row, first race, they've broken 150 here.
Yeah.
First use of
lays
the
down a
track
good market, doesn't it? He was pretty happy. He rang me too. He said,
he rang you?
Yeah, he rang
as
me
well?
straight away.
He rang Jess.
I was standing on the
he
track
rang
there,
me.
so he was very
Did
excited.
he ring
Again?
you?
I
Cam?
didn't.
No? Jeez.
Cam was
like I'm
driving
about to
around
go
and
on
Must have
Yeah,
got
that's
under the...
cool.
Yeah, that's right. I couldn't take the phone with him into the stables. But anyway.
How's your black bookers going, Freddie?
Yeah, look, Paint Me a Reason went around, as I said, I tipped her a few weeks ago. One that I've got going around this week is Electra, and keep an eye on her. I tipped her a couple of weeks ago. She's had, I think, barrier 10. I think she's got 9 on Saturday. But I just think with an ounce of luck, she's good enough to win that race on Saturday. So keep an eye out on Electra. But she, around the mark with the black bookers. But Paint Me a Reason's the one I'm dining out on the most because the last 3 runs have yielded 2 wins and a second and at real good odds.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you got for us, Jess?
Yeah, Mustang Millie from Saturday night here at Club Menangle. She hit the line really strongly for Bevan Pringle and Blake Hughes, and I think she'll be one to follow into the future.
Righto. Anything you think we should keep an eye out for, Cam?
Got a quiet week here in New South Wales. I've got Major Meister coming up in the Cranbourne Cup on Saturday, so Jace has got them all airborne at the moment, so I'll be pretty confident with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you'd be silly to go past the Cameron Hart Jason Grimson combination at the moment with how that's going, wouldn't you? All right, Cam. We've spent a lot of time talking about your most recent achievement. There's been plenty to go through though. You're really building a good CV up, but doesn't go without some hard work and some real hard yards at the early stages. When did you sort of say, right, harness racing's for me?
Yeah, probably when I was about 12 or 13. That's when I started to drive track work for Uncle Trev down in Junee. So that's sort of where I got the bug. I obviously started when I was 5 or 6 on the mini trotters, but that's when I really thought I can make a career out of this. And, without him teaching me all the ropes early on like that, I probably wouldn't be here talking to you guys. But, that's probably when I first really thought, okay, I can really do this.
Yeah, I was there the day you got your first Group 1 down there at Wagga at the Riverina Championships. It actually surprised me. I sort of... you're the sort of bloke who... And I've only worked around here for a couple of years, but it feels like you've been around forever and you've just been winning forever. And now it's all happened so quickly. You've just been piling up these wins after wins in big clusters. Your consistency must be something that you're super, super proud of.
Yeah, 100%. I try and get the preparation right into these big race carnivals, but without the trainers, I'm really nothing. So I got a lot of thanks to them for having the horses spot on for me. It makes a big difference.
And looking to the future, here in Australia, we obviously use Toddy and Andy McCarthy as our benchmark for success over in the USA. Todd won an Inter-Dominion in Victoria aboard Tiger Tara. Could that be a similar path that we see you take in the future?
Yeah, it's definitely something I've really considered strongly, and I'd love to go and test myself over, against some of the US drivers for sure. And I guess Toddy was a really good influence on me. I was able to drive here in Sydney for 2 or 3 years with him and learn a lot from him, and he's a great guy. So definitely love to get over to the US for sure one day.
You just mentioned consistency, Paul. Cam, I don't know if you're aware of this, but in your career, and this is going to be very important when we talk about the fantasy game, you're in the money 50% or 49%, let's call it 50%. Half of your drives in your career, you've run at least first, second or third. So there's just a snapshot of the consistency. But I wanted to ask you, when you made the move from home to come to Sydney and work, so we're going back about 6 years ago now, 7 years ago?
About 5, yeah.
Yeah. A big move for a young bloke from a country town to come up here. Take us through those first maybe 6 months. Were you homesick? How did you feel? Were you getting the opportunities you were hoping for? Tell us about those early days.
Yeah, it's it all kicked off pretty well, and when I was in Junee, I was just putting the feelers out to a few different trainers, and I was just lucky enough. Shane Sanderson had a nice team of horses at the time, and he didn't really have a stable driver. He was using a few of the freelance drivers up here, and that looked to me that a stable that would suit me. I really wanted to get on some nice horses straight away and really kick off my career, and Shane did that for me, and I've he's a really good friend of mine now and a family friend. And yeah, he was massive for my career early on.
Were you homesick? Were you like? How did you feel when you first came here? Was it
not
tough?
too bad. Ash had moved from Junee up
Right.
to here to work in a couple of stables by then, so she was here, and I'm a pretty independent person, so I've settled in really well and made a lot of good mates straight away, so that really helped.
Ash has kind of made a move, and for those listening, Ash is your sister. Ash has kind of made the move more into training more so than driving in recent times. That'd be the dream, wouldn't it? That Ash is a great horse. You get to drive the Group 1 for her in a big race.
Yeah, definitely, and we got a little taste of it with Defiant winning the Group 3, but Ash is very, very talented with the horses, and she's always, unlike me, I've always wanted to be a driver. She's always wanted to be a trainer. She really enjoys, that one-on-one time with the horses throughout the week and really prepping them for a big race. So hopefully she can get a couple of nice horses in the barn, and that'd be great.
Your dad's a pretty big supporter of both of you too, isn't he? Like I know he's always
sure.
sort of sharing and liking the comments on social media.
Good fella.
Yeah, all my family in Junee, the Riverina are big supporters, and they're all massive racing fans, so they follow Ash and I quite
Mark's
closely.
your dad's the track curator at the Murrumbidgee Turf Club at Wagga.
Yeah, he started off as a greenkeeper on a golf course.
Yeah,
And he's been at the Thoroughbred track there at Wagga for about 15 years now as the boss, so he loves that as well.
You know those people, Paul, that mow their lawns and have their lawns looking pristine and they take photos of it? I see some of the photos of the course proper at Wagga and I think, geez, I can only imagine what this man's front lawn looks like. It must be like mint.
The cylinder
Must
mower,
be mint.
golf green
Look,
stuff.
Yeah. The track looks amazing when they post pictures of it. So your dad, obviously, I can just imagine the front lawn. Put mine to shame.
Cam, for young people listening in, and it seems incredible to say young people when you're 21, but to me, as an outsider looking in, a big part of success is the relationship building and the ability to have connections in the racing industry. And you've obviously struck up some great partnerships. Jared Alshin's stable has been really, really prosperous for you as a driver. Some of the great horses there, obviously the work you do with Grimo. And yet we've seen other nights, I think recently on a podcast we reflected on a night where you had 4 winners for 4 different trainers. Is that some advice you'd pass on to people who are the 16-year-old like you were coming to the big smoke? And do we put enough emphasis on that?
Yeah, 100%. Making connections is massive. If I hadn't have made the connections I have up here, I wouldn't be where I am. So I try to give as much advice to the young kids coming up, but especially the kids in the bush that, a lot of the metropolitan trainers probably don't see and don't know of. Try and help them out as much as I can. And that's one of the massive things that I say. You got to just make connections, and they're all great guys up here. All the trainers have been awesome to me. They didn't know who I was when I first got up here either. And, as soon as they're happy to help anyone. So you make those connections and it's going to take you far.
So how do you do it? How do they do it? You just got to go up and lower your ego and go up and say hello and introduce yourself? Is it as simple as that?
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, all the trainers are very welcoming up here. So, any young kid out there, you just got to, put yourself out there and that'll take you far.
Premiership champion here last year and on top again. There must be days where you've got multiple trainers sort of saying, will you drive my horse? How do you go about managing that? How does that all work? And what's the process? Is a trainer literally coming in on the phone or coming up and having a chat to you and saying, I've got this, I'm prepping for this? How does it all work?
Yeah, that's probably the trickiest part of the business, really. That's the part I don't enjoy. I'd like to drive every horse I can, but obviously that's just not the way it works. But yeah, it just depends on the individual trainer, really, the way they communicate with me. But I've been super lucky. They're all great trainers, great blokes. So, I try and manage it the best I can. But, a lot of them sort of realise that I'm a freelance driver. That's where I make my money. So I've got to take the best drive in the race. And, I can't thank the trainers enough for understanding that.
I think that's what stamped Cam as a star of the future, without embarrassing you while you're sitting right next to me. But in his early days, he would come to the races and he'd be driving for what I tend to call the less fashionable big gun stables and get results. People like David Waite. David's been an amazing supporter and you've worked great together. He's just one that springs to mind. But there were so many times Cam would go to the races and wouldn't be driving for a Jason Grimson or a another big stable, or Shane when you first come. You'd be driving winners for those stables that were much smaller and probably had your Bankstown Penrith style horses rather than the horses that could break 150. I think that was a credit to you because you were able to get them to perform based on some of your talent as a driver. And that was what I remember saying to someone probably 5 years ago. It's going to stamp and set Cam apart, is that ability to do that. David Waite, been a big supporter.
Yeah, he's been massive, pretty well from day dot. I obviously had Shane there to kick me off, during the Metropolitan sort of racing. But Dave, he's been such a big supporter and he's just such a great guy. He'll do anything for me. And, in recent times when I have had a couple of the bigger stables come to me with a drive, he's always happy to put me straight back on. And, yeah, without him, I honestly wouldn't be where I am because week in, week out, I'd be turning up for 1 or 2 drives when I first got here and they were Dave Waite's horses. And we've still got a great relationship. Right now, today, I'm still his stable driver, so can't thank him enough.
So at what point, let's use, say, Jared's we had, say, Ronnie and Byron. And last year, you committed to sort of Byron. This year, I remember early on, you said, look, I'm going to go with Ronnie. At what point do you make that decision? And do you have to lock in on that commitment at the start of, say, like the Breeders' Challenge series? Or are you in a position, being Jared's main driver, where you can say, actually, no, Byron's going a bit better here, I'm going to flip, I'm going to go back to, how's that process work?
Yeah, I pretty well get to pick and choose, really. I'm pretty lucky that way. And, Scott and the Tumby Park crew have been awesome supporters of mine and they're really easygoing and, whatever Jared and I think, they sort of happy to roll with that. But, yeah, Byron was a great 2-year-old and I could just feel Ronnie, he was maturing really well and he always looked to be going to be a better 3-year-old than what he was at 2, even though he was still a good 2-year-old. So, yeah, I'm pretty lucky. I just get to, week by week or whatever, really.
Do you have a manager?
No, I don't.
Yeah, so because you said you're a freelance driver, so there's the sports side of it, but then this is a business as well, and you're your own business, your own brand. So, is someone helping you out with some of these business decisions? Because they seem like some pretty big stakes decisions that you have to make financially, managing a diary, all those sorts of things at a fairly young age, and yet your priority is making sure that you're delivering results out there on the track.
Yeah, I've got a few good people around me that I go to for advice, and I've just kind of over time just tried to handle it as best I could, and I'm still learning how to do it now, but I think I've nearly got it down pat, and got sort of systems in place to make sure that I'm doing the form into the races properly to make sure I am picking the best drives. So, yeah, it's a tricky spot in the business, but I do enjoy that side as well.
Do your best thinking on the golf course, don't you?
Oh, I try to.
What are you playing off?
Yeah, pretty rusty at the moment. We actually had a game down there for the Innerdom. They had a golf day, but I started to warm up late, but I was pretty rusty early on.
That's not what Jess said. Jess says you're in there about 5 or 6 times a week.
4 or 5.
No, mate, I think for someone so young, you're making some very, very adult plays in your life, and you can only be commended for that. We're super proud to call you one of ours, mate. Very, very, very proud of how you've achieved over not just the last few weeks, but over the last few years. Star on the rise, and someone that the rest of Australia should have right on the tip of their tongue when it comes to our elite athletes in this country, I would have thought. That's what we are, aren't we, Freddie? These guys are athletes.
100%
look after your body and really put in a regime that makes sure you can deliver good results.
The hours, Paul. We were just joking about playing golf, and I think I said, how do you get time to play golf? They've got work in the morning, as in track work. Then they've got, you just talked about, you like to put in form, to analyse form, picking your drives. There's that management of your time and your drives, and then there's an afternoon spent at the racetrack.
Trials
and
as
the
well.
Trials and the travel.
Oh. These guys, they go way over and above and beyond, and that's why, any success that comes any of their way, whether it's Carol winning her first race at Penrith the other night or Cam winning an Inter-Dominion, any success should be celebrated and lauded for what it is. The hours these people put in, these drivers and these trainers in harness racing, just amazing.
Absolutely. Well done, Cam. Great to have you on the show, mate. All right, well, coming up, you've got a couple of drives this afternoon, don't you?
Yeah, I got a couple, yeah.
Going to dust off the cobwebs and get out there and show the locals what you're made of. What do you got?
I got Top the Ace for Trev Monday and Mr. Cole for Pete Russo. So a couple of probably in the middle of the market there, but they'll need a little bit of luck.
Yeah, okay.
Those last 2 races are rippers, I think, today.
8 races this afternoon, Freddie.
Yep, I think the last 2 races are real good. We get to see Wave the Bill, that horse go. In fact, I'm Bill's last is in the second last, and Wave the Bill is in the last.
Could we
Both
see
for
them
Lucky
do
Lodge. Could they do the double racing or pacing, free-legged? But Wave the Bill's quite an exciting horse.
Yep, absolutely. We've got Wagga tonight as well. Bathurst Wednesday, as always. We've got Tamworth and Penrith on Thursday. Dubbo and Leeton on Friday, which means Newcastle's got a rare Saturday night meeting this week, and Goulburn's on Monday. Then we get to an 8-race program on Saturday night at Menangle, Jess.
Yeah, and it features the Christmas gift final. There were some really nice heat winners here last Saturday night, and I think it's going to be a good final.
All right. Yep. Should be some real good racing coming up as we get to head up to the Christmas break. So it is. It's rounding out as we would expect, because we've had an amazing year on the track right across the state, Freddie.
Certainly have. We've seen some great performances on the track. There's some good things happening in harness racing in New South Wales off the track. We've talked about so many of them on these podcasts. The cognitive testing, for example, I think was a terrific thing to implement. I won't wax lyrical about the fantasy harness racing anymore, but I just think that's an amazing thing that'll really take us headlong into 2023 with some great positivity.
Yep, and one of the things I'm going to do this afternoon is go around the camera for Sky's in the gig, and we're going to talk to some of the drivers and get their thoughts on their highlight of the year. I'm really looking forward to that, getting around and talking to some of the drivers, because we're going to see, as we said before, one person's metrics of success is very different to another, and let's celebrate them, because it's been a great year on the track. It's been eventful. We've had the floods and all these horrible things that have happened have been. Let's celebrate the really good things, and that's what we're going to do.
Just on that.
Oh, sorry, Cam.
I was just going to say, just on that, Michael Dummersey, he's done a super job with the flood relief. So I just want to give a quick little shout out to him as you said that.
He is. He's but not just that, Cam. You blokes are doing amazing things, and not just the blokes, the females in our industry as well. You have all basically given a commitment to say, well, when I win a race, take X amount out of that pay return and give it straight to the people of Yagara and different communities that have been affected by the flood. So doing some amazing things. You're right, Mick Dummersey's done a great job driving it. Harness Racing New South Wales has done its own thing to engineer some of that, and it's going to go on for a long time. These people are doing it real tough. So, yeah. All right, well, we've had another long show. We've talked a lot about the Inter-Dominion, but so we should have. It was a real week to remember, Jess.
It was an unforgettable week, and one that Cam won't ever forget.
Yeah, absolutely. Freddie, one to remember, one that will savour. Again, very different to what we had going on here last year, and we're just so proud of this young man, aren't we?
100%. I texted Cam straight away after the race just to pass on congratulations.
Brush you?
No. He was a little busy. He was busy celebrating, and you know what? I was 23 once, a long time ago, but I would have been out celebrating too. So no, very proud of Cam. I know his family are 100% very proud of him as well, and we're all proud of him here in New South Wales. And Grimo,
Yep.
he's won two Inter-Dominions with what were essentially claimers. And he's come out, and one was in the steward's room. Better job than Perry Mason did Jason last year. And this year with a horse I cast no shadow. So very proud of what we achieved in Victoria. And I guess the next Inter-Dominion will be at Albion Park and then back here in 2 years' time.
Cam, one thing we didn't ask you, how was the circuit afterwards? Would have been a fairly significant celebration, I would have thought.
Yeah, it was a big night, so I'm still recovering now, but yeah, had a good time and seen most of Melbourne.
Good stuff. Final word, mate. Reflections on probably the most remarkable week of your life.
Yeah, I just can't believe it, to be honest. A lot of people I've got a lot of people to thank, where I've got to in my career, but just honestly too many even to think of. But yeah, just can't believe it. And big thanks to Jason and Diane.
Fantastic. Well, everyone out there tuning in, I hope you've enjoyed some of the insights into a remarkable night of achievement for the rising star of harness racing in this country. Thank you for your time tuning in. If you get a chance to follow, share, subscribe, tell people about the Sprint Lane, please do. Don't forget, Fantasy Harness Racing launches on Thursday. Of course, Cam's not only the highest priced driver in the game, he's one of our ambassadors. You're going to see him cruising around tracks in some of the Fantasy Harness Racing kit at some point too. So look forward to that. If you tune in, thanks for your time. We'll be back next week. We're going to have the final show of the year next week with Freddie and Jess and a different guest for you to tell their remarkable story of what they've been achieving in harness racing. So thanks for tuning in. We'll speak to you again next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.